Hello learners of all ages, my name is Mr. Montgomery. I teach 4th and 5th grade math, and today we're going to be learning how to order decimals. Now, when it comes to ordering decimals, we're going to use the same trick as we did last time to compare decimals. We make sure that we have all the decimal points lined up and make sure that we have the correct numbers in the ones place and the tens place and the tenths place and the hundredths place and beyond in both directions if the numbers get to be that big. But for example today, I have 3/10, 1/10, and 2/10, and I'm supposed to order them from least to greatest. Well, I'm going to be putting my numbers in order. So I'm going to write 3/10. I'm going to make sure that my next two numbers, the decimal places, are lined up with each other. They all have a 0 on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, this has a 1 in the tenths place, and this has a 2 in the tenths place. Now, we're going to be starting on the left-hand side. Out of all these numbers, is there one that's bigger or smaller than each other? No, they're all 0. So they're all good. But here's where the difference starts to begin. And I know that I'm going from least to greatest, so I'm looking for actually the smallest number in the tenths place, which is 1/10. So I know that 1/10 is my smallest number. So I can cross that one out. Now I have 2/10 and 3/10. Which one's smaller? Yeah, 2 is smaller than 3, so 2/10 is my next smallest one, and that would leave 3/10 as my largest decimal in this problem. Let's take a look at another example with slightly bigger numbers. Well, again, I'm going to have my decimal places all lined up. I have 9/100ths, 11/100ths, and 13/100ths. Well, they all have a 0 on the left-hand side, in the ones place. I noticed that 9/10 has a 0 and a 9. I noticed that 11/100ths has 2 1s. And I noticed that 13/100ths has a 1 and a 3. So now I'm going to be going from the left-hand side, moving to the right, and comparing the numbers. They all have a 0 in this column. They're all checked out. I'm going from 0, 1, and 1. Well, which one is the least? The 0. So I have 0 and 9/10. And usually when you separate these numbers, you can leave space, but I know 4th graders don't leave a lot of space, so either separate it with a comma or semicolon. All right, 9/10 is gone. Now out of these ones, they both check out, right? They both have the same value. I have to go to my hundredths place in order to figure out which one is the smallest one. Now I'm going 1 and 3. Well, 1 is smaller, so 0 and 11/100ths is the next smallest one. Put another semicolon, which means that 0 and, oops, put a comma. 0 and 13/100ths is my largest decimal in this problem. Let's take a look at another example where we have whole numbers and decimals. Now, again, I'm going from least to greatest, but first things first is we need to line up our decimals. We have 1 decimal, 2 decimal, 3 decimal. Now I have 1 and 10/100ths, 11 and 11/100ths, and 1 and 1/100ths. So I know that I have 1 and 10/100ths. I have 11, which means that I have a 1 in the ones place and a 1 in the tens place. So 11 and 11/100ths. And I have a 1 in the ones place and 1/100th in the hundredths place. All right. You notice right off the bat that I have 1 digit in the tens place, which means that this number is automatically bigger than the rest. I know that 11 and 1/10 is larger than the rest. I can save myself some time. Now, going to the second one, I have 1 and 1. Well, they're the same. Decimal place. 1 and 0. The 0 is smaller than 1. So I know that this one is the smallest one. And this one is the one in the middle. Separate it out with semicolons. So my order is 1 and 100, 1 and 10/100ths, and 11 and 100. All right, my 4th grade friends, if we take a look at page 211 in our workbook, you'll see that we're going to be doing practice problems number 1 and 4. The directions say that you can use the number line to help you out, but you're supposed to order the decimals from least to greatest. Now, again, you see that some of the decimals do not have the same number of digits behind the decimal. make sure that you add zeros behind after you line the decimals up. Let me show you what I mean. So for number 1, I have 3 decimals, 1, 2, 3. I have 0 and 5 tenths. I have 0 and 45 hundredths, and 0 and 4 tenths. You see that I'm missing currently 2 places in the hundreds place. What do I need to do with those 2 spots? I can add zeros at the end, right? So if I add zeros at the end, they all have the same amount of place values. Now I can compare and order. If you have any questions on number 1 or number 4, or comparing decimals and ordering decimals in general, let me know when you come to class.